What kind of man makes an entire saloon fall silent the moment he walks in? That was the question running through Eliza Warren's mind the first time she came face to face with the cowboy nobody dared to touch. Eliza had arrived in Dusty Rock, Montana territory with a carpet bag full of borrowed clothes, $23 hidden in her boot, and a marriage contract signed by a man she had never seen. She told herself it was a sensible choice. A widow with no family and nowhere left to go needed protection, and a rancher looking for a wife needed a homemaker. Simple, practical, safe. At least, that was what she believed, until she heard the first gunshot. The sound cracked through the dry afternoon air as Eliza stepped down from the stagecoach. Her boots hit the dusty ground a moment before a second gunshot ricocheted off the water trough beside her. She screamed and dove behind a wagon wheel, heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. "Stay low, ma'am," the stage driver shouted, crouching beside her. "Kane's boys are raising hell again." Eliza's breath shook. "Who are they shooting at?" The driver swallowed hard. "Him." He jerked his chin toward the saloon doors as they swung open. Out stepped a man dressed head to toe in black. The kind of black that swallowed sunlight. Black shirt buttoned to the throat. Black gloves. Black hat pulled low. A long black duster that brushed the ground. His movements were slow, calculated, cold, and the entire street froze the moment he appeared. Eliza didn't know his name yet. She didn't know why the men shooting at him were now scrambling to mount their horses and ride away like frightened children. She didn't know why townsfolk hid behind barrels and porch posts just at the sight of him. But she saw one thing clearly. Everyone feared him. Everyone but the man himself. He walked out into the open road, lifted his chin toward the fleeing riders, and spoke in a voice steady as winter ice. "Tell your boss I'll give him one more chance. After that he steps foot on my land, he won't walk off it." No yelling, no anger, just calm certainty. The kind that sent chills over her skin. The driver whispered, "That's Luke Callahan, your husband." Eliza's stomach dropped. "That is my husband?" The driver nodded, pity in his eyes. "The same man nobody in this territory dares to cross." Eliza hadn't expected a warm welcome, but she had imagined something more than a street gunfight and a name spoken like a warning. Still shaken, she rose to her feet, brushing dust from her skirt as Luke Callahan finally turned and looked at her. She felt that look. It was sharp, piercing, like he was searching for danger in her too. His eyes were a stormy gray, cold at first glance, but with a flicker beneath the surface, like something trapped there. Something old, something wounded. "Eliza Warren?" he asked. She managed a small nod. Luke stepped toward her, boots slow and heavy on the dirt. He towered over her, broad-shouldered, strong, the long coat hiding most of him except the hard line of his jaw and the tension in his posture. "You're early," he said. Stage wasn't due until tomorrow. Is that a problem?" she asked softly. No. His voice never rose. Just unexpected. He looked her over, not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but like a man trained to assess threats and weaknesses. The kind of look a soldier gives before deciding whether to trust. She swallowed. "Mr. Callahan." "Luke," he corrected. "If we're married, best use my name." Married. The word felt strange in her mouth, heavy and unfamiliar. Luke picked up her carpet bag as though it weighed nothing. "We'll talk at the ranch. This street isn't safe." "Because of those men?" she asked. "Because of a lot of things," he said quietly. "Come on." He didn't reach for her hand, didn't offer his arm, didn't smile, but he walked close enough that his presence formed a shield around her. As they headed toward his horse, a massive black stallion with eyes just as guarded, whispers floated from behind them. "She won't last a week." Poor woman. Does she know what he's done? Quote, "Look at him, still wearing that damn coat." Eliza tried not to listen, but Luke heard every word. His jaw tightened, muscles flexing beneath the stiff collar of his shirt. She wanted to ask. Wanted to know why people trembled around him, why he never took off that long duster, why men shot at him in broad daylight. But she had only been his wife for 5 minutes. Maybe questions could wait. They rode out of town in silence, the wind sharp against her cheeks. the sky stretching wide and unforgiving. The ranch appeared in the distance, a sprawling spread of weathered fences, grazing cattle, and a house standing tall against the wind. It looked strong, solid, unbreakable, much like the man beside her. When they arrived, Luke dismounted and held out a hand to help her down. She hesitated, just for a heartbeat, before placing her small hand into his gloved one. His grip was steady, strong, careful, but he didn't push her closer. Didn't force familiarity. He stepped back the moment her boots touched the ground. Inside the house, he set her bag near the stairs. "You'll have your own room," he said simply. "I don't expect anything from you." Those words should have comforted her, but they didn't. Instead, they left a hollow ache in her chest. "Luke," she whispered, "are we truly strangers to each other?" Quote. He didn't answer, not right away. His eyes shifted, not cold this time, but guarded, haunted. "I don't do closeness," he finally said. "Not anymore." "Why?" she asked before she could stop herself. For a moment she thought he wouldn't reply. Then he lifted one hand, gloved, always gloved, and touched the collar of his shirt like a man checking armor. "Because there are things under this cloth you don't want to see." Her breath caught. "Scars?" His eyes darkened. "Worse," he said. She felt the truth in that one word. Something terrible lived beneath the shirt he never removed. Something he believed no woman could accept. But Eliza Warren wasn't just any woman. She had survived loss, hunger, loneliness, and fear. And something in her, something deep and unspoken, whispered that Luke Callahan's secrets were the kind that broke a man from the inside out. Secrets she needed to understand if she was going to survive this marriage. And maybe if she was going to save him from whatever haunted him. Before she could speak again, 3 loud knocks shook the front door. Luke's entire body stiffened. "Eliza," he said in a low voice, "stay behind me, and no matter what you hear, don't come closer." Her heart pounded. Whoever was at that door wasn't a friend, and whatever Luke was hiding. It was about to be tested. The knocking came again, harder this time, shaking the door on its hinges. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Eliza stood frozen on the bottom step, her breath held tight in her chest as Luke stepped forward, like a man walking into battle. He didn't reach for the doorknob right away. Instead, he listened, every muscle in his back going stiff beneath the black duster. "Luke," a voice called from outside. "Open up. We need to talk." It wasn't a friendly tone. It wasn't a polite request. It was a warning. Luke finally cracked the door open, just an inch. Just enough for Eliza to see a sliver of a tall, broad-shouldered man wearing a sheriff's badge pinned to his vest. Sheriff Amos Greeley. Eliza had seen him earlier in town, warning shopkeepers to shutter their doors when bullets started flying. He looked grim now, hat held against his chest. "Luke," the sheriff said quietly, "there's been trouble." "There's always trouble," Luke replied, voice calm but cold. "What kind this time?" Sheriff Greeley glanced past him and spotted Eliza standing by the stairs. Concern crossed his face. "You brought her here?" he said, lowering his voice. "Now, today of all days?" Luke's jaw clenched. "She's my wife." The sheriff shut his eyes like he'd just heard the worst news of the year. "Eliza," he said gently, stepping inside. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I truly am." "You seem like a good woman, but you should have been warned." "Warned?" Eliza asked. "About what?" Before the sheriff could answer, Luke cut in sharply. "That's enough." "No, it ain't," the sheriff snapped back. "She deserves to know. Kane's men ain't gonna back off. If anything, they'll get worse now." "Kane?" Eliza repeated. "The men who were shooting earlier?" The sheriff nodded grimly. "Jesse Kane. Runs the Red Creek gang. He's been after Luke for 2 years now." Her heart hammered. "Why?" Luke didn't speak. The sheriff did. "Because of what Luke did to Kane's brother." Silence crashed into the room like a falling boulder. Eliza stared at Luke, searching his face for an answer, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. He just stood there, shoulders rigid, jaw tight. "What happened to his brother?" she asked quietly. The sheriff hesitated. Luke didn't. "He attacked a woman," Luke said flatly, "and paid the price for it." Eliza swallowed. You killed him? No, Luke said, his voice like gravel. But I stopped him, hard. The sheriff cleared his throat. Cain doesn't forgive. And he sure as hell doesn't forget. He wants Luke dead, and anyone near him becomes a target. Eliza felt the chill crawl up her spine. So what brings you out here? Luke asked. The sheriff's expression darkened. Cain's boys were seen riding toward your north pasture. Armed. About 10 of them. Luke's eyes narrowed like storm clouds gathering. Looking for me? They're looking to make you bleed. The sheriff lowered his voice. Now they know you brought a wife home. Eliza's breath trembled. Luke stiffened. The sheriff glanced her way again. Ma'am, marrying him just painted a target on your back. Luke snapped. That's enough. No, it ain't, the sheriff barked. You think she can handle being hunted? You think she understands what it means to live with a man like you? To live with that? He nodded toward Luke's tightly buttoned shirt. Eliza's eyes widened. What does he mean? She whispered. Luke froze, completely still, hands at his sides, breath locked in his chest. Sheriff, he warned, don't. But the sheriff shook his head. She's your wife now, Luke. She deserves the truth, all of it. Before Luke could stop him, the sheriff turned to her. He never takes off that shirt for a reason, ma'am. Or that coat. Or those gloves. Eliza's throat tightened. Why? The sheriff hesitated, looked at Luke, then spoke in a quiet, heavy voice. Because what's underneath ain't pretty. And it ain't the kind of scars a man gets from ranching. Quote. Luke's eyes darkened. Eliza took a step forward. What kind of scars? Sheriff Greeley didn't answer her. He answered Luke. You gonna show her? Or are you gonna keep hiding it until Cain's men tear through this house and she learns the hard way? Luke closed his eyes, pain flickering across his face like a man fighting a memory he never wanted to see again. Then he spoke quietly. Sheriff, leave. Greeley didn't argue. He tipped his hat toward Eliza. Ma'am, if you choose to stay, just be careful. The moment the door closed, the silence inside the ranch house felt suffocating. Eliza turned slowly to face Luke. Tell me, she whispered, please. Luke didn't move for a long time. Then, finally, he took a step closer. Eliza, he said softly, I don't want you to fear me. I'm not afraid, she said. His voice dropped to a rough whisper. You will be. She shook her head. Then, show me. Whatever it is, let me understand. His hand lifted to the collar of his black shirt, paused. His voice cracked, just barely. Eliza, once you see, there's no going back. Quote, she swallowed her fear. I'm your wife. You can trust me. For the first time since she met him, she saw something break in Luke Callahan's eyes. Not anger, not coldness, something like sorrow. He slowly unbuttoned the top clasp of his shirt. One button, then another. His hands trembled. Eliza, he whispered again. I was supposed to die that night. Her breath caught. What night? He swallowed hard. The night everything under this shirt was burned into me. Before she could ask another question, a window shattered at the back of the house. Gunfire exploded through the room. Luke grabbed her and shoved her behind the stone hearth just as bullets ripped through the walls. Eliza, stay down, he yelled. They found us. Cain's men were here, and the truth Luke feared she would run from was about to collide head-on with the danger rushing toward them. Bullets tore into the wooden walls, splintering shelves, shattering crockery, shaking dust loose from the rafters. Eliza pressed herself against the stone hearth, heart pounding as Luke grabbed his rifle from the mantel. Stay down, he ordered, voice like steel, no matter what happens. Luke! No, his eyes locked onto hers, fierce and urgent. I can take bullets. You can't. He rose just enough to peer out the window. 5 riders. 6. More shapes moving through the shadows. Cain's men. And they weren't here to scare him this time. They were here to finish it. Luke! Eliza whispered, grabbing his sleeve. You can't fight them alone. He didn't look at her. I've done it before. A bullet whizzed past his head and buried itself into the wall. Eliza gasped, but Luke didn't flinch. He fired back with a steady hand, hitting the first rider cleanly in the shoulder. Another bullet came through the window, grazing Luke's arm and tearing the cloth. The sleeve ripped just enough for Eliza to see a glimpse of his skin beneath. And her breath froze. It wasn't just scarred, it was melted, twisted, burned deep. Like a man who had been pulled out of hell itself. Luke jerked his sleeve back down, but he knew she'd seen. "Eliza," he said quietly, "don't look at me like that." Quote. She reached toward him, but he pulled away. "This is why," he said through clenched teeth. "This is why I never take my shirt off. This is why people don't touch me." "That's not," she started, but he cut her off, eyes burning. "I was inside a burning cabin for too long. A woman screamed for help. I went in. I dragged her out. I saved her." He swallowed hard. "But her father thought I'd done wrong. He said I'd been alone with her. Said a man like me must have hurt her." "That's not true," Eliza whispered. "I know," he said bitterly, "but they didn't care. They tied me up. They meant to hang me." A bullet hit the stove beside them, sending sparks flying. Eliza covered her ears as Luke kept talking, like the story itself was burning its way out of him. "They lit the cabin on fire with me still inside. My shirt melted to my skin. I broke free, but by then I was already ruined." Eliza grabbed his face with both hands, forcing him to look at her. "You're not ruined." He looked at her like he didn't believe a single word. "They destroyed my reputation, burned my skin, branded me a monster. And Cain's brother, he was part of it. That's why he hates me. That's why this won't stop." Another volley of gunfire hit the house. Glass shattered, wood cracked, horses screamed in the distance. Luke lifted his rifle again. "Eliza, I need you to run." "What?" "No!" "If they take you," he said hoarsely, "I'll never get you back." She shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "I'm not leaving you alone." "Eliza, I'm your wife." Luke froze. It was the first time she'd said it with her full heart. "I'm not running," she said fiercely. "Not from your scars. Not from this fight. Not from you." He stared at her, something breaking in his eyes, something soft, something desperate. "Eliza," he whispered, voice trembling. Before he could finish, 3 more bullets tore into the front door. Then a voice screamed from outside. "Callahan! Come out! Bring the woman, and maybe we'll let her live." Luke's face hardened with a fury she'd never seen in him before. "No," he growled. "No one touches my wife." He grabbed her hand. "Stay behind me. Don't let go." Quote. They moved together, slow, crouched, hearts pounding, as Luke pulled her toward the back door, but the back door slammed open first. A huge man stepped inside, grinning like a wolf, gun pointed straight at Eliza. "Well, ain't this sweet?" he sneered. "Cain wants the pretty wife." Luke lunged forward, grabbing the man's wrist before he could fire. The gun went off. Eliza screamed. Luke snarled, twisting the man's arm until bone cracked. They fought hard, knocking over chairs, smashing into the table, until Luke slammed the man into the wall with a strength that didn't look human. The intruder crumpled to the floor, unconscious. "Eliza, run!" Luke shouted again, but she grabbed his hand instead. "No, we end this together." More footsteps thundered outside. Luke pulled her close, pressed his forehead to hers, breath shaking. "I thought you would fear me," he whispered. "Fear my scars." "I don't," she said, touching his jaw, her voice breaking. "I fear losing you." Something fierce flickered in his eyes. Then he kissed her, hard, deep, like a man who believed it might be his last. It was the first kiss of their marriage, desperate and full of everything he'd been holding back. When he pulled away, his voice was soft but determined. "Stay behind me." With one hand gripping his rifle and the other holding onto her, Luke kicked the door open and stepped out into the open yard. Gunfire roared, but Luke Callahan roared louder. He moved like a force of nature, taking aim, firing back, protecting the woman behind him with every breath he had left. And then, the thunder of hooves, the sheriff, 10 riders behind him, gunshots, yells, chaos. One by one, Cain's men scattered, fled, or fell. And finally, the yard fell quiet. Sheriff Greeley galloped up to Luke, chest heaving. "Are you two all right?" Luke didn't answer. He was staring at Eliza, like he'd just realized something life-changing. "Eliza," he said softly, voice raw, "I thought you'd run from my scars." She touched the torn sleeve of his shirt, exposing the burned, twisted skin beneath. "I didn't marry your scars," she whispered. "I married you?" Luke swallowed hard. Slowly, he pulled off one glove, then the other. Then he reached for her hand, bare. His rough, scarred fingers brushed hers, hesitant at first, then sure. "Eliza Callahan," he said, voice low and trembling. "If you'll have me, I'm yours." Her eyes filled with tears. "I already am." And right there in the quiet aftermath of the storm, Luke Callahan, the cowboy nobody dared to touch, finally let someone touch him, gently, freely, completely. And Eliza learned the truth. His scars didn't make him dangerous, they made him human. They made him strong, they made him hers, forever.